This movie was so beautiful. I mean, y'all, it was heavy, it was powerful, it was touching, and it was tragic, all wrapped up in one. Emma, I'm gonna start with you. I don't know anyone else who could have played 1957 Marianne the delicate way that you did. I mean, I fell in love with your innocence of the character, and then we felt for her heart. And of course, your character's love interest is young Tom, played by Harry Styles. What was the key that you both used to ensure that we fell in love with this trying couple?
I think trying to find the moments of joy and the moments of true love and friendship between them, because I think with Tom and Marion, like even though, I think you see this in the older counterparts as well, even though they're lacking like their physical relationship, they do love each other. And I think that's something which the film explores really beautifully, is like the love and friendship and the bond between two people.
Michael led the way with that. The three of us had the luxury of 3 weeks to bond and create a friendship and a chemistry. But then, yeah, moving forward, me and Harry promised each other that we would continue to check in with each other throughout this process, which I greatly appreciated.
He kind of understood the insular nature of how Tom doesn't want to give anything away about himself because he's a policeman at a time of such high level, the law being against him. So those two component factors made him shy, they made him insular. The only thing we needed to believe is two people were in love with him. Why were they? He must be very beautiful, he must be quite charismatic, but he's giving nothing away. So that is a very difficult thing to play because the two slightly contradict each other. And so Harry knew that. He knew that playing his cards close to the chest is going to be quite a difficult acting challenge, and that everybody else places something on Tom. That's the way the story works, and that's why he was right for the part, I think.
Harry is an amazing person. I hardly know the guy, but what I do know is he's quite a special person. Obviously, he's exceptionally talented, but he handles his fame, he handles himself with a grace which I just think is deeply impressive.
You were phenomenal as Marion.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you. You know, when I got a telephone call from Michael Grandage, our director, I've worked with him a few times in the theatre here in England. And well, actually, we came to America with one of his shows too. We went to the Brooklyn Academy with King Lear. So I've worked with him a lot. And if he rings, I take notice because he's amazing. He said, read this and then call me. And so I read the script and I thought, wow, this is a very, very good dynamic. A really good dynamic. You meet three young people in 1950s Britain. They're drawn together by love, they're connected by love, and they're torn apart by prejudice. And then their lives are indelibly marked. 4 decades later, you're going to meet them because somebody is being a catalyst before it's too late to try and look at the past. That, for me, is a great recipe for drama. So I thought, okay, that enough. That's great. I want to explore this. And then, of course, you look at Marion, who is a product of her time, like the two other characters. She's a victim of her time. And the complexities of any challenges that we face in our lives and the things that brings about within us, things that might surprise us, things that might repel us about ourselves, that is always very interesting too. We know ourselves, but sometimes we do stuff and it ain't what we expect.
When you got this script in your hand, how much of your breath was taken away?
Quite a lot. It's very rare you read a script straight through and know the moment you close it that you want to do it. And that happened with this. I just thought it was a beautiful story, a sad story, and perhaps most of all an important story, because I was born into the England at the beginning of that film, and the law did change when I was young, but what was left was a kind of generation of prejudice, and we've made huge advances over 40 years, there's no question, but I think the world's a bit fragile at the moment for the first time in my lifetime. If a lot of young people can engage with this film, they will see a time that existed in my lifetime, and I don't consider myself to be that old. They will see a time when the law meant that you weren't even allowed to be yourself. And I hope that they will become advocates for why we need to continue to move forward, not backwards.
What scene resonated with you most? Because Michael did a beautiful job of directing everything, but every single turn was a beautiful moment in some way.
One scene that comes to my head is there's a beautiful scene on the street between Patrick and Tom where they pretend they don't know each other. And I think it beautifully encapsulates the playfulness of the love affair that's beginning, but also the secret that they must keep because of the society in which they live.
I was really interested in the scene where Marion has that conversation with her colleague at the school about her worries about Tom, and then how her colleague is like, well, I'm gay, and this is like the world we live in. And it sort of shatters Marion's world. And Marion has such pride, I think, and you really see that and her fight against that in that moment. But it's pride which doesn't have anything to do with her feelings towards homosexuality in terms of this, like how society saw it at the time, but I think has all to do with the fear she has of not being loved, of losing the person she loves. And I think it's a moment that encapsulates all that conflict within her.
I think that some of the more everyday scenes are really fascinating from an actor's point of view, because often it's what we're not saying. So we can be having conversations which are about lunch or washing up or the domesticity of our lives, but actually what we're communicating is something, you know, the fact is you've got three people in a very, very confined space in their home, and there is things to address. And the fact that you're not addressing them, that you're dressing up things with everyday domestic activities while there's this maelstrom of things happening, that is interesting to me as a performer.
I was enjoying constantly all of the coastal stuff and creating imagery with the sea, and I found quite a lot of being able to tell stories without words, so scenes without any dialogue, but being able to keep the story moving forward, the loneliness of a figure walking along the seafront, anything like that. Those are scenes that I love, because my training is in the theatre that's entirely about words. So being able to work in a medium where sometimes you can tell a beautiful story cinematically without any dialogue, those are my favorite scenes quite often.
My final question for you all, I love to ask this one, the behind the scenes. I like to know, of course, we saw something beautiful that's gonna get an Emmy on screen, but did y'all like hang out and stuff? Could you kind of give me some behind the scenes of what you all may have done together? Did it include Harry? Did it include Emma, Harry, David? What was that like, since y'all are relatively all the same age?
We all spent quite a long time in Brighton, and we went vintage shopping and stuff. David, we hung out a lot in Brighton, and
yeah, we got invited to a Bowie exhibition, didn't we? We were
on the Bowie exhibition, which was amazing.
And Corrin and I had a gorgeous day where we took our dogs to meet each other and having a gorgeous walk in the woods.
Yeah, we did do that. Yeah.